"He belongs to the elite of the Marseille underworld and seems untraceable," said a senior police officer. For years, this man flooded the city of Marseille with cocaine and cannabis. Police tried to convict him, but before they could send him to prison, he had already fled the country. While living as a fugitive, he ruled his organization with an iron fist. But he made a mistake that cost him everything. This is the story of Mohamed Jiha. Mohamed is also known by the names Mimo or Suarez. He was born on September 21, 1981, in Béjaïa, Algeria, on the Mediterranean coast, about 220 kilometers from the capital. Mohamed and his family moved to France, where he grew up in La Castellana, a neighborhood in the 15th arrondissement of Marseille. For football fans watching, this is also where Zinedine Zidane grew up. Instead of giving him a better chance in life, La Castellana became the place where he would become one of France's biggest drug traffickers. The neighborhood is heavily invaded by drug trafficking and is one of Marseille's most active sales points. For young men growing up there, it's almost inevitable to not be involved in the drug trade. The neighborhood is regularly plagued by turf wars between gangs, accompanied by great violence. Since 2010, every 2 or 3 years, anti-drug operations have been carried out in a desperate attempt to clean up the streets, hoping to put an end to it once and for all. But as soon as they leave, drug trafficking resumes with renewed vigor. Police estimate that drug trafficking in Castellana earns between 80,000 and 90,000 euros per day, with nearly 1,000 clients per day. Yes, you heard that right. Not per week, not per month, but per day. Mohamed's organization was responsible for a large part of these revenues. His organization served as a retail store for drug consumers, but it also served as a wholesale store for other gangs, who bought the product in bulk to sell it in their own neighborhoods. What propelled Mohamed's organization and enabled him to move thousands of kilos of hashish and cocaine were his contacts worldwide and Marseille's strategic location. Marseille is one of the entry points for the cannabis trade. It enters Europe from Morocco through Spain. The city is also a key point on the cocaine route, which starts from South America and ends in Europe via West Africa. While others hesitated morally to sell cocaine due to its more serious effects, Mohamed saw no problem with it. He understood that the profit margins for cocaine were much higher than those for hashish, and didn't need to think twice about it. Today, the explosion of cocaine consumption in France in recent years has pushed more and more drug trafficking organizations to enter the market. Most of the drug trafficking was based in the K-Tower, a residential tower housing around 7,000 people. This tower was described as the largest cannabis selling point. Although cocaine and firearms were also sold there, it was a concrete fortress where customers had to form orderly lines. Meanwhile, lookouts, hooded and equipped with walkie-talkies, monitored the comings and goings. Nothing went unnoticed in La Castellana. The drugs supplied by Mohamed were often hidden in the homes of elderly women, called drug nannies, because they were less likely to be searched. The profits were also handled similarly. The elderly women received a few hundred euros per week in exchange for their services. In 2019, Mohamed was sentenced to 10 years in prison for money laundering and drug trafficking in Marseille. However, he fled even before hearing the verdict. A warrant was issued for his arrest, and that's when he began living as a fugitive. Like many other criminals, he decided to flee to Dubai under a false identity, and that's where he went silent. He probably expected to be able to manage his organization peacefully and live a luxurious life, but that wasn't the case. His name reappeared only in May 2023. Mohamed was again sentenced in absentia, this time to an even longer prison term. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison after being found guilty of masterminding an attack on the A55 highway near Marseille on February 16, 2017. The Twingo of a member of a rival clan was pursued by associates of Mohamed, driving a black BMW while trying to escape in the Twingo. 31-year-old Kader B was hit during an overtaking maneuver, causing his car to overturn in front of terrified motorists. One of the assailants then approached on foot to finish him off, firing 26 shots. The shooters, two brothers named Karim and Malik, were sentenced to 28 years, imprisoned by the Assize Court of Bouches-du-Rhône on May 17th. The reason for the shooting evidently related to drugs. It was never exactly known why Mohammed ordered the hit, although such incidents are not uncommon in Marseille. In the years leading up to the shooting, there had been a lot of violence in Marseille. And what was the reason for all this violence? Gangs fought to secure a place in the highly lucrative drug market of La Castellana. The Yoda gang and the DZ Mafia have notably been battling for a few years, but we will come back to that in another video. If there hadn't been so much demand for drugs, it's less likely these gangs would go as far as they do now. Ultimately, it's about money for them. If there's no money to be made, they have no reason to inflict violence on each other. In all the articles I've written about these drug lords, responsibility is always placed on them, while drug users are rarely discussed. French police chief Frédéric Camilleri, for once, partially blamed the consumers of these drugs, stating, "Drug trafficking causes victims every day in all cities of our country. Drugs cause victims because there is a lot of money to be made in this environment. The money comes out of the consumer's pocket, who bears significant responsibility for what happens in our cities and neighborhoods." Almost all murders in Marseille are drug-related, a message that likely didn't scare Mohammed, who simply went about his business. However, no one thought it would happen soon. But on June 20th, 2023, the news broke. The show was over for Mohammed. He was arrested in Oran, Algeria, by Algerian authorities and immediately imprisoned. OFAST, the French Office for the Suppression of Drugs, made him one of their priorities, and it was only a matter of time before he was caught. He had been hiding for some time in Dubai, as mentioned earlier, but he began to feel less safe there, as arrests of wanted criminals were increasing since Dubai decided to clean up its streets, so he moved to Algeria, again hiding under false identities. The OFAS team knew he didn't have much room to move and didn't give up. Mohammed managed to evade them for a long time, but they finally won. French authorities have already stated that the chances of him being extradited to France are very slim. They added, "We have submitted all the necessary documents to Algeria. The goal is for them to prosecute him and serve his sentence in Algeria." This is somewhat unusual, as countries usually want their most wanted criminals extradited to them immediately. French Interior and Overseas Minister Gerald Darmanin thanked the investigators for their work and the Algerians for their cooperation. It's a very big catch because he can be considered the top drug trafficker in Marseille, but he also organized the importation of drugs to other French regions. Mohammed is likely to spend a long time behind bars in Algeria. The convictions are serious, and the French police seem confident that they have enough evidence to support them. Mohammed already had a cumulative sentence of 40 years, open for money laundering and the hit he ordered. In 2017, as we write this, he is 41 years old. Add 40 years and he will be 81 years old, with no possibility of early release. And that's not counting the drug trafficking charges that France is considering against him. It's highly likely that he will spend the rest of his life in prison. As for the famous K Tower, one of the landmarks of drug trafficking in Marseille, the municipality has decided to demolish the building and renovate it.